All right, welcome everyone to Bullpen Slam Team at Helicon West. My name is Britt Allen. I have been the slam coach this year for our wonderful, wonderful team. Not that they needed me to do much coaching at all. But before I get mushy, we have cupcakes and coffee in the back, and I highly suggest all of them, but one at a time. I mean, that didn't make sense. It's fine. We're gonna. Oh, I'm nervous for you guys. I know. Someone has to be the strong one. Oh, am I the strong one? Yes. Oh no. Okay. In addition to our palatable performances tonight, we have two broadsides for sale. They're taped up here. They're by Kayleen Fox. Is she here? Okay, I didn't think so. And they were designed by Tyler Monson of the Writing Center. I'm sure he does other things, but Writing Center is the most important designation. So that's how we know him now. Anyway, they're really beautiful. Check them out. You can buy copies in the back after the readings are done. There's probably also copies of the Helicon West anthology back here tonight if you would like to purchase those. We have a beautiful lineup tonight, and make sure you mark your calendars for our next event as well. It will be on April 11th. Poetry at 3 will be performing, and I happen to know one or two of the Poetry at 3 members. So maybe I'm on it. I don't know. We'll see. So make sure you're here for that. And I will go ahead and introduce our slam team. And then after that, we'll be followed by an open mic, if that's something you're interested in reading and being part of this like super fantastic energy. The list is back there right by the cupcakes and the coffee. So, just 1, 2, 3. Boom. Done. Get it. Oh, I'm so awkward. It's fine. Hey, but with a poetry slam, it is important that we, as an audience, get to participate as well. Okay, so if you hear something you like, you snap. If you hear something you really like, you say push. I feel so weird saying it. But you do. You say push, poet.
Push it, poet.
Yeah. That one. Don't listen to me. That one. Okay. This is not meant to be reverent or quiet. I mean, don't be a jackass. But be, rowdy. Be rowdy, but not jackasses. Okay. There's a line. We'll find it. We'll get there. Okay. Perfect. Again, I will introduce our first 4 readers, followed by our next set of 3. It's been a super duper pleasure to work with these guys. Like, I was on the slam team for 4 years during my undergrad as well, and then I wasn't here last year, thank you, because I wasn't in school, but then I came back and I'm a graduate student this year. When I was asked to be the slam coach, I thought, wow, I don't have time. What? But I really wanted to do it because the slam team was just so much fun every year I was on it, and I'm so happy that I did. Like, I was even nervous that I would have to teach these guys how to workshop or something, and I didn't. Like, I sat there and turned on the computer screen and then they ran themselves. Like, from start to finish, these guys have brought their shit. Like, they know what they're doing. P.S. This is an uncensored event. And should have mentioned that first. So without further ado, our first 4 readers tonight will be Adrian, Jordan, Morgan, and Nicole. Please welcome Adrian.
Hello, Helicon West. My name is Adrian Thompson, and some of you may have remembered the last poem I performed last year about Harrison the Happy Hand Truck. I hope that was a bit difficult to forget. But I sort of didn't want to do another poem this year, mostly because like you just can't top, you know, a poem about Harrison the Happy Hand Truck. But I decided to do it again, and on another important object, I guess, in my life. And as a team, we've decided to like introduce ourselves with a fun fact about ourselves each time, and I'm going to subvert that. Even before it happens, with a fact about whales instead. So whales, right? They live in, most of them live in like the polar regions of the world where the water's really cold, and then they go to the sort of the equator region to calve. And the calves, they need to build up a lot of blubber really quickly in order to go back up north or south where it's really cold. So whale milk has so much fat in it that it's the consistency of toothpaste.
Ew.
So that's very interesting. Okay, so my poem is nothing about that. Not at all. It's about my bike. It's called my blue and yellow bike. I first tried to ride a bike when I was 5, and it didn't work out. But hey, at least I'm alive. Though I fell over sideways and somehow survived a harrowing 1.5 foot plunge to the hot asphalt drive. The only source of transportation I had after then was an adult tricycle, airplane blue vintage Schwinn that I proudly acquired at the young age of 12 when I traded a 7-page story to this family friend about a giant winged space snake, you know, one of them, and I rode on that till the frame got a permanent bend. I first learned to ride a real bike age 15 when at 10 a.m. in the morning on TV was a screen from Kipper. You know, you remember the dog? By the way, that's a toad, not a frog, Kipper. Really? Does no one remember? Everyone respects Clifford, but nobody ever gives the same love to Kipper. Dog with a slipper, that theme was a banger. Anyway, so in the episode, Arnold, the mute baby pig, learns to ride without his training wheels. So Mom turned to me aside. If Arnold can do it, you could at least try. So I learned to ride perfectly by 2:45. For my first actual bike, I chose something in gray with a basket that always kept breaking away, that I lovingly christened Mr. Mistopheles for some reason. But hey, I thought to myself, this is boring and bleak, so I cooked up a new design inside of a week. First I ordered the frame, bright yellow would do, and then I ordered both tires colored bright blue. At first they sent me one, but I said, no, I'm gonna need 2. So they sent me the new ones, and off to college I flew. Now 4 years later, its reputation has grown, and there isn't anywhere across campus where it isn't known. When people see the bright yellow, their faces grow lit. They ask me wondrously, how'd you come up with it? And I say, I just thought it up. Because the truth might hurt if they knew it was patterned after Big Nate's shirt. Nobody knows who Big Nate is either. I'm doing red hair. But the most intriguing reactions I've found are those who track me cross campus when they see it around, from Raby West to the library to, nope, that's where I'm inbound. One christened it a Sweden bike after the flag, an association that I enjoyed, might I add, but another one started calling me Banana Man because of the color, I'm guessing. Egad. Most lasting, however, are the strong compliments that I get as I ride from both ladies and gents. That's an awesome bike, man. Those some sick wheels, my brother. They come day after day, one after another. I should have marked each one of them onto the side, like the confirmed kill scroll across a battleship's hide. Because when people say, cool, it's their friendship I'm gifted. So at least my brightly colored bike keeps them lifted. But it's covered with mud and it needs a good floss. Nope, needs a good wash. The chain's gummed with rust, needs a canola spray floss. So I think I'll go clean it as it cleans all of us. The next time you see it, it'll have a good scrub.
Oh man, I love these poets. Hi, I'm Jordan Forrest. My rapper name is Jofo, so if this doesn't work out, then I guess I have that. My interesting fact or fun fact about myself is I actually can't whistle. And I know you're gonna suggest that I like put my tongue like behind my teeth or like below my teeth or like put my lips in the shape of a W or something. But I'm 21 and I just don't think it's gonna happen. Anyway, today I'm going to be reading a poem called Sink. When my family asked me how I was doing, I sometimes told them ups and downs. And sometimes I'd take my hand and move my fingers like a wave so they could see what my days looked like, rolling out of my dry and crusting hands. The hands I had started scrubbing because OCD asked me to be 100% pure. The response I started giving because OCD asked me to be 100% honest. I couldn't tell them that I was doing good because when I had to wash my hands every time I tied my shoes, I couldn't say good because when my things kept touching the floor of my car and I had to Clorox wipe those groceries, that water bottle, Dad, why did you put that water bottle on the ground, that water bottle? I couldn't say good, so I said ups and downs, and somewhere at the beginning of this curving line, I had started washing my hands for God, baptizing my palms into purity with every swift pump of soft soap, with every turn of the sink handle, with every dip in water. Do you know how many times you can baptize your hands? The Bible told me that even though my sins were scarlet, they could be made as white as snow, but the more I washed my hands, the more red they became, blood dripping through the cracks. And after a while, I started to wonder if I was baptizing them or drowning them. And so I said ups and downs. And when I was up, the 5-second rule for dropping your food on the ground, that was actually kind of endearing, kind of. And when I was up, I didn't have to wonder what your hands had touched before handing me that M&M so warm in my palms that the colors were dripping onto my skin. And when I was up, the raindrops, those were welcome not just on my face, but on my tongue. Because when I was up, the world stopped pulsating for long enough that it could be beautiful. When I was up, the sink was just a sink. But when I was down, that sink was an ocean. I was that stone you taught me, Dad, to throw into the water to see how far it would go, only this time the stone was sinking. When I was down, you asked me to pick one sink in the house, and that could be my hand-washing sink because of how much soft soap I took up, because all that water made the counters messy, because maybe if I had fewer sinks to run to, I'd run less. But when I was down, the OCD inside my brain could make me sprint to that upstairs bathroom second sink on the right faster than if you had told me it was the only exit in a burning house. Because when I was down, my life became a burning house, and that sink was the only thing capable of putting out the fire. Yes. When I was down, you and Mom tried to use your words as a flotation device that I struggled to grasp onto. And you and Mom prayed. But Dad, that same God that you were praying to help me stop my compulsions was the same one I felt the need to wash my hands for. Woo! So I lived in ups and downs when all I wanted was to come up to my God, head down, and hand him a life that I had scrubbed clean in that upstairs bathroom second sink to the right. A life that I had folded into this clean purple ribboned box, a life that I could hand him to prove that I was worthy. And when I was up, I could almost see it. Until I came back down and I had to figure out if my toe touched the underside of my shoe, because that same toe would then touch my bed sheets at night and my entire body touched my bed sheets. And then I would be lying in the filth I was too lazy to clean off, too lazy to make holy in a sink. And then what would God say when the box wasn't a box and there was no ribbon and I didn't even use soft soap before handing him this crumpled paper sack of me? Woo!
My name is Morgan Edgett. My middle name is Sky, spelled S-K-Y, like sky, like the English noun. And my poem is called Coming Out Lazy. My 7th grade fabric line deluxe pencil holding half file folder half binder was filled beyond capacity with every sort of paper imaginable. Drama class conceptions on cardstock, gym letters on pastel printer paper, ripped up notebook paper for whatever haphazard notes I retained from math, sheet music with doodles on it and doodle sheets with music notes, white A4 for any other classes I found myself begrudgingly enrolled. The things filled over with things I didn't think or remember or really care if I needed, to the point where when I went up onto an empty and uneventful stage to sign up for an upcoming event, as a row of student council members sat ahead, I tripped, throwing my binder and everything in it. I watched the papers fly out in unforeseen directions. I frantically stole them one by one back from the ground, fearing that one of those student council members would steal a glimpse of a love note or two I had written. After school, I told my mother what had happened all that day, and including the fact that I still had about 15 missing assignments. 15 missing assignments amounting to an F in 75% of my classes. My mother said to me, "I'm going to help you get organized. You must be losing track of all these assignments in your binder. You need to get organized," which I found offensive. There was one thing I could do. It was be organized, which doesn't always mean I was, but every pen, every book, every gosh darn stuffed animal had a set place in my room, and she wasn't going to tell me that because I wasn't organized, my academic future was doomed. And my mother said to me, "Because the only other reason I can imagine you're not doing well in school is you're lazy. And you're not lazy. I refuse to believe my kid is lazy," which I found disturbing. If there was one thing I was, it was lazy. Which doesn't always mean I was, but those 15 assignments weren't just lost or forgotten. Oh no, I knew about them. I didn't want to, or didn't care to, or didn't know how to do them. And it scared me that my mother, though I love her and she loves me, would, no matter how undesirable, hate for me to be the thing I was. The thing so many people hate, laziness, as bad as it is something that can be worked through. But how? What was I to tell her, hey, I'm lazy? The truth is, I was lazy, and those years later, my mother would tell me that's what she had suspected. What she did in the moment was ignore it, cover it up, like we all kind of do sometimes. Ignore it, it'll go away. We have a myriad of hiding places for a myriad of other problems or struggles or undesirable things. It's as if they don't exist, but they do. And they don't just go away. The noise of all these notes and the letters and the things and the papers I love that found a home in my binder were a lot of the things my mother told me to throw away when we cleaned out the binder that day. Trumpet, ring, paper mache thing, a friendship keychain from long lost best friend, those things all met their end. Cards, past notes and chronicles and stories and fictions and real life and papers and papers and papers, not there anymore. Not the right kind of papers, no longer a valid part of life. Because work isn't supposed to be fun. Nothing works unless you do, I guess, but I don't want to do anything without purpose. And those papers, once thought without purpose, are renewed and rebirth, giving meaning to monotony, and at least a means to an end, giving my laziness something to do.
My name is Nicole Cane. I use she, her pronouns. That's not the fun fact about me. The fun fact about me is I'm terrible with faces. So I won't remember any of you. And my poem is titled Good Girl. I grew up a chatterbox. I said what I thought and usually told people the same things more times than they ever wanted to know. I had no problem talking in class. In fact, I answered every question because back then I wasn't afraid to be that girl. But at some point I realized that talking all the time wasn't a good thing and I wanted to be a good girl. I grew up playing with Barbies, and the one with the prettiest hair was always the prince's favorite. And I believed that having long, beautiful hair was the way to be most liked and most loved. So I tried to grow my hair long because I wanted to be a good girl. I grew up going to church every week. I learned to pray and read scriptures every day. I went to all the church activities, and I wore dresses that went past my knee. I didn't go on dates until I was 16 because good girls behave and good girls go to heaven. And all I really wanted was to be a good girl. I grew up with a little sister, and I tried to teach them how to be a good girl, which didn't work out so well, and you'll soon see why. But if I could be a good big sister, then I could be a good girl. Those were the days when I believed everything was binary. There was good and bad, black and white, male and female. But my little sister isn't my sister, he is my brother. You see, something went wrong before he was born, and the hormones weren't right, and he should have been a boy from the beginning, but instead he was raised female. So I learned meanings of words I never even thought about, like transgender and cisgender, hormone therapy and transitioning, he, him, his, and she, her, hers, and they, them, theirs. All because before he was born, my little brother was assigned female. Assigned female. Assigned female. We thought he was female. We raised him to be female. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't my fault, Mom's fault, Dad's fault, God's fault. There's no fault. There's no blame. He didn't choose this body, this one that didn't come with a penis, the one that can't grow a beard and bleeds every month. So you who would judge him, judge me, judge us, judge them, just shut up. You don't know what it's like to be different, to love somebody that's different, to love somebody so much that you're willing to tear down everything you knew about the world and put it back together so that this time there's a place for them. Woo! I go to church because somehow I still want to be a good girl. And I sit in the pews and I think about God and I think about gender and I wonder why. Why would he tell thousands of his children that they are sinful for wanting to feel comfortable in the bodies he gave them? Can't go to heaven is something you're not, they say. Well, who are you to say that he's not this way? Who are you to say that he's born female, assigned female, and it can't be him? You're not God, and frankly, if you were, I wouldn't want to live in your paradise. Because it's not that simple. I'm smothered by the voices of others, and I feel my voice dying in my throat, but I've still got fight in me, so if you want to judge my brother, a boy you've never met, yet fear and hate because I told you he was assigned female, a choice he never got to make, I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to stand up and shout out that I'll stand with my brother in life or in death, and don't you dare stand in my way. And I look back and remember that all I wanted was to be a good girl. And my voice that once seemed so strong starts to fade, and my religion, I thought you had all the answers, has failed me. What is the point? And I nearly lost my brother. You see, he didn't choose his body or his mind. Those aren't things you get to choose. He can either live a life of lies, which would certainly lead to suicide, and leave me without a brother who could have been saved, or he can live as the boy he should have been. And my voice gave out, and I would rather sleep all night with blankets over my head than ask my roommate to turn out the lights. And even thinking about commenting in class is like watching a spider slowly dropping from the ceiling towards your desk. And I learned to deflect conversations with my friends so they wouldn't have to know that I almost lost my brother. And I remember when I wanted to be a good girl. But my brother showed me that I don't have to do as I'm told. I can find my voice and tell my story. I can be bold. Hell, I can cut off my hair. Woo! So I'm standing here and proving to myself that I don't need to be a good girl.
Also to Jennifer Steiner and Shannon Ballum for helping us and helping the team get together and stay together 6 years in a row. Okay. Oh, and a fun fact about me, my middle name's Sky too. Yeah. Except it is spelled S-K-Y-E. So I'm wrong. But anyway, that was neat. I got excited. Okay. For our final 3 readers before moving into open mic, again, the list is back by the coffee and cupcakes if you'd like to sign up. In one corner, we have Lauren. In another corner, we have Donny. And in the third corner, we have Nate.
It's a triangle.
It's a triangle.
Hello, my name is Lauren. I'm really nervous. Fun fact about me, I have an extra bone in my foot, and all throughout elementary school, I believed I had superpowers. So I wrote a poem about it. When I was a little girl, I thought I had superpowers. I thought I could control time, stop it, slow it, rewind it, play it with a snap of my fingers. The universe was mine. I'd toddle into class, clad in my rain boots and aqua cape. All the kids made fun of me, but I didn't care. My powers kept me safe. I called myself Aqua Girl. I wanted to change my name. I asked everyone to call me it because I was my own hero. I was no defenseless dame. And as I grew older, I had to put my cape away, knowing I didn't really have superpowers, but that was okay. Because I still had 2 good, strong hands that could caress, hug, and create. I had strong legs, powerful thighs. I could run long and fast. I had legs that turned eyes. And I had soft lips, kind lips, lips that kissed and sang and never told a lie. I spoke my mind freely. Back then it was easy. I never had to try. But as every superhero story goes, every plot has a twist, every movie needs a villain, and mine was disguised as a prince. He was older and I was barely 15, but he was the first to say he liked my eyes, and he was the first who made me feel seen. and I was weak at the knees. I was blinded by praise. I thought it was happily ever after that would roll on for days and days and days. But hand-holding turned into grip. Weak knees, a weakened mind. By the time it was happening, I was held down and my body was not mine. My hands did not help me. My hands were too weak. My lips did not help me, my refusals too weak. My legs did not help me, my legs did not run. For these reasons, I blamed myself and I hid it from everyone. Then my powers kicked in, years after the story was done. You see, for years as a kid, I'd practiced traveling through time. I'd squeeze my fists and I'd close my eyes. I could zip off to whatever worlds I'd say. I could choose where I'd go, and I could choose if I stayed. But now I am a woman with no rain boots and no aqua cape, but overwhelming flashbacks when you say the word rape. My superpowers boxed in by 4 letters, diagnosed and stamped on my head PTSD. And the only directions set inside my mental GPS are flashes back into the sticky gray of his back seat. It's like my mind took a wrong turn down a dirt road into my past, and there's no way to turn around. The road is too narrow. Everything is pitch black. It's like I spilled a drink on the control system of my mind. Everything is flashing red and sizzling. My hands are shaking. My legs are quivering. My voice is squeaking sounds from when I was 15. But I am not 15. That was 7 years ago. But my superpowers, my time control, it's a 1-lane road. But I still have 2 hands and 2 strong working legs and a mouth that will no longer stay shut. I don't need superpowers to be a survivor, to be a woman, to be a lover, and yes, I am still terrified of how out of control and how chaotic the memories seem. But I am not afraid to speak up on behalf of everything I have overcome. I will not hold my tongue against excuses like boys will be boys, or if it happened to you, why didn't you tell? Believe me, I have heard all of these excuses dressed up and cut up 1,000,000 times, 1,000,000 ways from strangers and teachers and friends and those I have loved the most. There is no way you can code it that will make me like the taste, so I will burn these words with vicious flames, torching the night like a sun. Let my licking flames scold you in standing my ground. I promise I will not run. Let me scream, let me shout, let me make a scene, seducing the vulnerable, no fear to be seen. My bleeding heart pours from my mouth down my skin. I dare you to drown and find what you breathe in. Because damn it, I am beautiful with every wound you see. I sparkle like a rainbow with hues of bruises up my sleeve. To my brother and my sister who know the taste of this trauma defining me, let me kiss our shared scars with lips that heave, heavy words that may make others squirm into the bottoms of their seats, cause I know it's uncomfortable talking about something that happens to 1 in 5 girls. Hell, if I'm not loud enough, just look around. I'm sure you're sitting next to someone who's wearing my same colors but can't make a sound. Because we get trapped in excuses ingrained in our minds, so in second nature we don't take the time to ask where they've come from or even wonder why. Our political system is stained with court cases that sound and feel like mine. Or why it's okay for you to hoot and holler from the filthy throne of your car. Sir, my body was not made for your pleasure. Your compliments have gone too far. Call me feminazi, tease me see, but do you want your daughters to wear these colors of oppression us women have had to shoulder and bear? And this is not limited to my gender. This is a crisis rooted in all. For those who've had to shoulder silence and eat shit for the long haul.
Yeah.
Not anymore. My superpowers may force me back in time to when touches were not asked for, to when my body was not mine. But I don't need superpowers to say, I have survived, and to keep my legs moving forward with open palms by my side.
Rough stuff having to go after these guys. So I'm Donny. Interesting fact about myself, I'm deafened this year, so if any of y'all want to talk crap on me, just get to the side. I also can't flirt without using finger guns. And I'm kind of overcoming a cold right now, so if some of my N's sound like D's, I have faith that you guys will get through it. And this poem is called The Builder. My father is a builder. He set out from a young age to build homes, to turn 2x4s and drywall into sacred halls where love and stability meet. He wanted fumbling feet to find solid ground through the diligence of his labor. He wanted to cater to the need for solid foundations and new renovations. My father is a builder. He built our home and installed meaning like insulation, warming our hearts and bodies with the love his hard hands would continually provide. When I envision my father, the first thing I see is a big orange goatee. The shade of a stoic sun that runs against the backdrop of a new day. My father has a way with words that sometimes involve stringing an idea together with a stick of dynamite and letting it ignite. He allows the echo of embracing anger to ring out past the soft solitude of our house and announce to the world that he demands its attention and time to start listening was yesterday. His voice, like a jackhammer against concrete, speaks in heavy tones the standalone virtues of progress and action. My father can say anything and make it matter. A syllable can shatter any defense you had to the contrary. His words have this sort of scary force because they come from a man who sees the rough road and the hard choice and grinds them down into his morning oatmeal. Behind ironwood shoulders and a marble chest, he conceals the ability to make your excuses invalid without even meaning to. Because you can only imagine the burden strapped to his back, the rack that took shape the day his loving mother left this world like a whisper. The aftershock of her exit threw a 12-year-old boy to the blistering heat of adulthood among the shambled wood of a house with a widowed dad trying his best. My father accepted his life as a gift that must be earned. He burned into his head the image of calloused hands. He began to stand when the world told him to sit. He didn't think that was a wise investment of his time, so he never stopped. With all the pressure mounted on his shoulders, he started doing squats. Hell, he went for reps. He slept only when the burdens remembered his name, leaving the shock and shame of other gym-goers wondering, who is that guy? My father is equal parts compassion and intensity. My father sees the same colors in hard work and charity. Granite hands that can break boulders or shape hearts. Cinder block arms that start to look less like arms and more like the solid structures holding a roof over the heads of a family of four. My father is all at once my fear and disappointment lying just down the hall. The booming voice calling me out when I've made a mistake. The soft tone urging me to try again, begging me not to break. The sincere friend extending a steady hand who purposefully speaks, "You're not done. Get up." My father became my father when he found a fractured family of three whose humble hut was held together by a single mother and uncertainty. I was 7 and my mother was depressed. We weren't picky. He knew he could have glossed over everything with a fresh coat of varnish. He could have harnessed what was left and clumsily patched it together. There would have been no theft of time and we would have been fine. But my father, he didn't want fine. He wanted the foundation of his family to be secure. He wanted to be sure that when storms of relapsed heartache came to rain down misery and pain, when financial hardships and broken friendships battered the wooden walls like debris in a hurricane, when grief like slow decay rotted the frame, he wanted to be sure that when all was said and done, we, like the sun, would still be here. He made compassion out of plywood sheets, confidence out of cabin stains, stability out of scrap metal. He built love out of concrete. I can confidently say that my father and I do not share DNA, evidenced by my tragic lack of an orange goatee. Even still, my mouth has never been able to clearly form the word step in front of the word dad. I've never been able to entertain that idea because my father didn't just step into my life. He didn't just subtly saunter in like a secondary character after the first act. He attacked every part of my life that wasn't worthy of the person I could be. He ransacked the houses that Dad had built inside of me. He cleared away the faulty framework of fear and made it clear that something needed to change. He arranged his words into sledgehammers and carried out sudden demolition on every wall. He called the bluff of my self-loathing when it threatened to never let me out. He dived into a crumbling infrastructure put together by a predecessor who had bowed out after one harsh winter. Even when my father could begin to see how reluctant I was to have someone actually care, he never stopped being there. Through every snide remark, every spark I lit to build the flame of animosity, every socket wrench I threw into this awkward new relationship, every guilt trip I tried to send him on for being too hard on me, he was there. He made me work, and he made me believe. He allowed me to see that despite my fear of heights, I might have to lose sight of the ground to achieve my dreams, that tomorrow may require a climb to another level, a scaffold. He taught me that even as my feet feebly tremble for that next step, that I hold my goals as deliberately as that final piece of log cabin to a cabin I've been building for years. My father taught me that even after that final piece sees the outside of the dream you've built, that you're not done. As attractive as that idea is, building is not past tense. It might not make sense, but you gotta keep working. Life will not cease shirking the effort you've made. It will take your resolve, your reason. You will feel as if your dreams cannot last a season, even when everything you've labored for now sits abhorrently empty. Paper-thin attempts at walls fall into the earth, turn into shambles at your feet. Even when life tears you down, you gotta keep building. You must hold your aspirations like a brick, lay it down like a promise, and defiantly declare, I will see you tomorrow. You have to keep showing your grit and filling the empty spaces. You have to remember the greatest person to ever walk this earth was a builder. My father is a builder. He has 4 degrees and beaten knees that showcase his experience, traits that make sense of his profession. The greatest lesson my father ever taught me is that not everyone can be a contractor, but anyone can be a builder, even an English major. It looks absolutely ridiculous holding a hammer. He stutters and stammers as he's wondering if he's doing anything right. Even a 7-year-old boy with a fear of heights, anyone can be a builder, and we must be builders. Because there is so much that is broken. You don't even have to open your eyes to see someone who feels that their hearts are condemned structures no one will ever be brave enough to enter. There are so many tender mercies that go unseen behind darkened windows. There are so many waiting for us to extend a strong hand and say, you're not done. Get up. When you listen to that voice, when you make the choice to hear the echo of an angry orange goatee, you begin to see and know the essential truth that you are a work in progress. And progress is beautiful. May you accept the dutiful charge to see the flawed ground around you and say, this is the perfect place from which to build.
I had to. How are y'all feeling? Like, what do you think about this team so far? This is hands down the most astounding and soul-filled slam team that we've had here in a long time, and it really is it's an honor to be a part of it and to be able to read next to these guys. And those last lines of Donny's poem, "This is the perfect place from which to build," leaves me thinking, well, how do you build without believing? And if you have to believe, then what is there to believe in? And so my poem is about the only thing that I believe in, and it is Hallmark levels of cheesy. So,
Push!
So the poem's called Love People, and my name's Nate Hardy, and my weird fact is, I've been wearing the same belt since I was in 8th grade.
What?
All right. So this poem's called Love People. I want to love people, and when I say I want to love people, I mean I want to love them like replacing every street lamp with a stained glass bulb just for the hell of it. Because it's beautiful, like you and like me. I mean, I want to love people like making the prettiest girl in the room laugh, like the voice my grandfather uses to read the gospel, like a mirror with an off switch. I want to love people like the person I am just forgot about the person I want to be, and the person I just wanted to be dissolved into the person I am. I want to love people like that. I want to love people like folding the blue sky into a bouquet of 7 billion origami roses and giving them to everybody with notes that read, look, there's only 7 billion of us here and you get to be one. Like today, our mouths are for kissing and nothing else. I want to love people like John Lennon's imagination, like Gandhi's conviction, like a Christian that actually listens. When I say I want to love people, I mean I want to love them like the congregations of every church, mosque, synagogue, and temple in the world doing a Chinese fire drill with one another all at the same time. I mean, I want to love people like making all the bullets currency, so no one wasting killing anybody anymore, and we make all the currency go fuck yourself tickets, so we can tell all the banks and crooked politicians exactly what's on our mind. I want to love people like the way a child's eyes touch what's in front of them. Like we all forgot where to look and remembered how to see, like we all forgot how to speak and remembered what to say. I want to love people like instead of handing children only a word and a definition to use when teaching them to forgive, we would show their gentle eyes to point up at the moon and stars and keep their mouths shut. I want to love people like my mother believes in them. Like I so badly wish that I could. I want to love people like my cousin loved heroin. Like the day he woke up alone with no more fuck yourself tickets to spend and a hand loaded with currency that all went to his head and flashed that power like he's richer than any of us ever have been now. Believe me, I want to love people like I want him back. So, when I say I want to love people, I mean I want to love people, like 7 billion people pointing up at the moon and stars with their mouths shut, clutching blue roses against their hearts, so that when the day gives each of us its light, we can celebrate by letting go our unfolding arms as we watch it erupt into the color of a baptism.
Let's give our slam team one more hand. That was fantastic, you guys. Thank you. Thank you for reading tonight. Yeah. All right. Now it's your turn, huh? All right, so our open mic rules are do not exceed 7 minutes. We will clap you off. B, if you don't want to be recorded, all of our Helicon Wests do get uploaded to YouTube. So if you don't want to be recorded, just make some kind of death sign at Weston there. I shouldn't say that in public. I really shouldn't. I say that like I say it a lot. And thirdly, if you want to read, we have a few spots left, but we do end at 8:45 on the dot. Okay, so if you want to read, have your neighbor tap me on the shoulder and we'll get this passed around to you. But our first 3 readers will be Ronald Jensen, Isaac Tim, and Aaron Tim. All right.
Okay. from her. What would she say if I asked her about going out? Would it kind of stay? That's what I wanted 5 years ago. Would she say yes? Or would she say no? Because she said yes. We can go out. Yes was yesterday, we started out. We got it out at 7, between then and now. And all I can do is say a big wow. We'll go Harry and Colette. Kelly's 2 daughters whom I've met. First named Harry and the other Colette. I love them both, just like my own. So I try my best to make it known. I want to be a good influence in the life when I make no matter my wife. I want to be as good as friends can be to my sweethearts girls, Colette and Harry.
Push, poet.
I've got to follow your kids' performance. People with my poem about dirt. My secret is my middle name. I wanted it to be Dino Dino, but it's Burton. All right. Prayer to the Red Earth. For millions of years, the Red Sea rusted. Longer than dinosaurs and mammals walked, iron protected life, even as oxygen broke it down. On my knees, I hold red stone in my hand. Imagine rust settling, oxygen exploding out, painting the burning sky blue. As dust rolls from my hand, I thank the single-celled gods for the life they gave. Come up here with us. Slow moving.
Okay. All right, hi, my name is Erin. I wanted to say, I think it was Jordan who said that she couldn't whistle. I can't snap my fingers and I'm 40, so don't feel bad. I want to light poetry, but I can't snap my fingers, so I don't know what to do. So sometimes I just yell things. Anyway. Okay, I know it's open mic and nobody had a choice in my being here, but I'm honored to read it open mic with you guys because you guys are fucking awesome. I'm overwhelmed. Okay. All right, I'm just going to read a poem. All right, here we go. Okay. It's called Delete Contact. Garner Ron, juvenile probation officer, introduced himself to me after the second hearing. He convinced me to take guardianship, told me the boy needed a doctor, a school, and therapist. He never called me back, never told me anything else, never let me into any of the meetings with the lawyer, never asked for the paperwork I held, the proof that I had done everything the court asked. No, instead, he talked down to me, sent fuck-me-eyes at my sister-in-law, never learned my name. Howie Whitney. The therapist who ran the group home we surrendered the boy to, she told me that I would be involved and then just stopped calling. In December, using coded language, said the boy just wasn't taking all aspects of the program seriously. So I convinced him to say that he wanted to go home. Now, she says, he is doing better, that he didn't need us after all. Tim Hall, the father that didn't call his son for 63 days, the father who threatened me outside the courtroom. I had dared to tell the judge we wanted to keep the boy, the same man who always chose Donkey Kong when we played Mario Party and who played a thief in our D&D games, the man who I could make laugh by telling old stories, that is, until his wife shamed us silent. Simmons, Vanessa. Stepmother, she scolded me for talking too loud, told the kids to go inside, glared at Paul for laughing too long at a joke I told. She said she didn't want the neighbors to see me. Having a blind sister-in-law was embarrassing, so we slunk away ashamed. You always talk over me. You told me when to surrender the boy. You insisted you had to be there, then never showed up. You are a great court parent, can speak the lingo. Nobody seems to mind that you show up late, breezing in a gust of pagan mystique.
All right, our next three readers are Stephanie Fielding, Mark Smeltzer, and Jaden Shrub.
All right, tonight I'm reading a poem called Child's Play. We stand at the base of the quaking aspen in Grandma's backyard. I climbed this tree a lot when I was young, they say, and you're already halfway up the trunk. The wispy bark leaves powdery traces on your jeans and hands, but you grin between forked branches. The whirlwind of leaves whips around your head, half green and half gold, but all caught in a timeless dance with the wind. That was the best spot. I point high up to a roosting place. That's nothing. You scoff. Child's play. You explore your own roots, around and under and up, your long legs stretching. Finally, you rest your feet on two branches scarcely wider than the shoes. You look down. I do not feel safe, you say. I nod. I know. You'll find if you don't.
Ever hear your name and you're like, shit, that's me. I can't snap either, by the way, so.
Yay!
I know, it's nice to be a fellow traveler. This is part of a braided, like, research-based, I don't want to say essay because that makes ice glaze over, but like personal, like, writing things. So. In the fall of 1973, a young British journalist touched down in Athens on urgent business. The city, hailed as the cradle of democracy, had been cowed by the swift boots of a military junta. Since 1967, right-wing colonels and regime stooges have been enjoying their supremacy of a country with a suspended constitution and U.S. tanks at its disposal. The CIA supported this fascist regime as an antidote to Soviet encroachment in the East. By the early 70s, however, the regime, impeded by infighting and civil unrest, began its demise. Christopher Hitchens, eager reporter and stubborn activist, resisted the urge to dive headfirst into student-led rebellions at Athens Polytechnic and to aid his comrades in issuing the final blow to a floundering dictatorship on the brink. He couldn't even enjoy the region's troves of history and landscape or any touristy recreation. Instead, his priorities laid with the coroner. His mother, Yvonne, had been found dead with her eccentric lover in room 201 of the opulent King George Hotel days before. Christopher had to hear the news from an old girlfriend. Melissa rang him on the telephone and asked if he had been listening to the BBC at all that morning. The body of a woman, a Hitchens, had been found in Athens. Early reports had strongly indicated foul play. Christopher's father, Eric, the commander, had also recently been asking him of Yvonne's whereabouts. Christopher told him he didn't know where she was, which was honest at the time, but after he learned the truth, he had to break the news to his father and make all the grim arrangements. While Christopher swallowed the coroner's words in Athens, he couldn't help but think of the protests that must have been unfolding outside. Just weeks before, anti-junta demonstrations had escalated at the Athens Polytechnic University to the point where Colonel Papadopoulos, architect of the military regime, was compelled to send a tank to disperse the crowds. The tank rammed through the main gate of the university. Voices of protesters chanting the Greek national anthem were muffled by tracks and diesel engines. The young Christopher ached for such causes, exchanging his dinner jacket, a gift from Yvonne on his admission to Oxford, for jeans and a donkey jacket, taking to the streets, getting himself arrested, often to his mother's dismay and admiration. She and Christopher both had a soft spot for underdogs. Those preliminary reports from the BBC, it turned out, were inaccurate. Christopher soon learned that his mother had overdosed on sleeping pills in a bout of despair he would never come to understand. Yvonne's lover, Timothy, had taken even more extreme measures, washing down his pills with a swig of alcohol and lying in a hot bath before slicing himself. Police photographs and other morsels from the hotel room would only compound Christopher's grief and guilt. Yvonne appeared to have slid off the bed onto the floor, a telephone nearby perched with its handset loose. Perhaps Yvonne had tried calling for help, having regretted ingesting those pills. She may have been trying to reach her son. According to the hotel switchboard operator, in fact, several failed attempts were recently made to reach Christopher at his London phone number. Christopher soon realized he will never achieve closure, as there was no knowing what he could have said, or maybe just the sound of his voice would have done the trick, that could have given Yvonne a hand out of whatever depth she fell into. She also left 2 suicide notes, one for Christopher, the contents of which would stay between the two of them, the other essentially apologizing for the mess and inconvenience she would leave. Broke him even more. Finally, he was taken to the hotel suite. Both bodies had already been removed. He was not afforded a final goodbye. Due to the uneasy fact that they were not discovered for some time, the fouling bodies had to be removed promptly, their coffins sensibly shut. Christopher, overwhelmed by the scene, promptly made for the nearest window. As he held back tears under the guise of getting some air, he looked out over the ancient city, struck by the comforting majesty of the Acropolis, a 20-minute walk from the hotel. The ruins of the Parthenon reminded him that there was more to be seen in Athens than death and grief. Out of the dim hotel room, through the bleak, tank-infested streets of the dictatorship, beyond the flaming phoenix insignias of the revolution, the old citadel of the goddess Athena reposed. Christopher would later write a book on the beauty and history of the Parthenon marbles and make the case for returning to Greece portions of the frieze still held in the British Museum. Perhaps an epiphany on this otherwise depressing day spurred his interest in irreplaceable artifacts. Meanwhile, the Mediterranean breeze coaxed some life back into him. I only wish I could have been clutching my mother's hand for this too. Thank you.
Hello. I was going to read a different poem, but then I realized there are a lot more people from my poetry class here, so I will see all of you guys on Tuesday. This is a poem. This is a poem that I wrote on the back of a postcard. It is titled Grand Canyon. I can't trust myself in high places. Sometimes I want to fly or jump to my death. Sometimes I fail to see the difference. Sometimes I want to do other stupid things like buy a pet, legally change my name, kiss my best friend. I saw 3 flipped and crumpled cars over the edge of a cliff. I wanted to climb down and crawl inside until I found skeletons. When I looked over the edge of the Grand Canyon, I wondered how many deaths were in accidents.
All right, our next set is Jesse Domingos, Ashby Orgill, and Kayla.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I am blind. And Kayla Smith.
Hi, everyone. I hope this is under 7 minutes. Green light, green room, green cloth. There it is, starboard side, green light. Close all hatches. Barely done with 2 extra bodies taking up room. The waves building, falling, turning the horizon into a seesawing table. Engines burning, water roaring. We still hear the fear of old glory fluttering in 25-knot gales, turning into a tattered cloth. Life-saving service, so others may live. That's the blueprint of our careers, our lives. It's never good when the coxswain yells, "Oh shit, man!" Never did I think we would be standing in front of the old man. Not after, when we saw the red on the right, showing the way home. Red light, return, red light. Now it's procedure and pomp and stance, as the black book of the UCMJ looks at our lives, standing in a small room, facing the green cloth, the Uniform Military Justice Code, Article 15, folded out on the table. No guard report, no route, no reason. Nothing was on the table. Only a test what the boat could do, what we could handle. Nature versus man. The steel of the boat, the forces of nature. Coasties with hats of cloth. Running from the red light. Never slowing down engines. Roaring, rolling with the white-capped waves. Yawing up to the sky. Falling down, down, dropping into the green room. Swallowed by the water. We cut through the water. The compartment filled with green light. Less than an inch of watertight glass. The endless void of green. Now we have life in our lives. No hurry up and wait and military bearing, just our lives. No dreaming of the heroes we want to be from a table or from manuals in a room. Boot broke us, me, down to be better than a man, to be the light, trained to save lives, to go beyond, to go into the unbeatable forces, steel underneath blue uniform cloth. Now we stand looking at the UCMJ, manuals opened on the green cloth, determining our lives, reminding us that we're part of something bigger, not the light. We have a mission. We are pieces on the chess table. We are only petty officers and non-rights, not a woman or a man. The mission that saves lives starts and is perfected in a training room. We walk out in formation of the small room. Behind us, still staring, the green cloth. And hanging over us are the last words of the old man. He watches us leave, taking with us the punishment permanently marking our military lives. Our name marked in black on the captain's mast table. And the four of us, with soft smiles, look out to the boathouse underneath the fading light. Service above self. The Coast Guard has no room for cowboys or hot dogs. Our lives are ones of service. But even the brass behind the green cloth knows it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. We weren't made to stand by behind the table. A man or woman, we're still all coasties. We thrive in the fading light of a storm. If you haven't faced the storm, you haven't faced yourself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashby, and this is my poem. It's called Sour and Salt. Today a sunbeam placed gently on my eyelids woke me from a deep sleep. The deepest kind of sleep. The kind you find comfort in when the world has nothing but lemons to give. I believe my heart has begun to sour. I suspect it's rotten to the core. The decomposed matter lays heavily in my ribcage. Because lately I can't seem to find my grip on something sweet. I've been fooled by apples and pears. They tempt me, looking delicious as they do. So I open myself, letting my fingers slide over the smooth skin. And it feels so lovely in this mood. Like perhaps this time I found something sweet. So I raise my hand and I bite down. And I feel the slick lemony juice begin to slide down my throat, choking me into tears. I've been tricked once again. I've become accustomed to the salty taste of these tears. All that's left is sour and salt. Maybe the issue is at my center. Maybe I'm no better than the world's lemons. Maybe if I bit down on my arm, I would find the answer. Maybe I would gag from the bitter flavor coming out of my own skin, or maybe, just maybe, I'd find something else. Because I feel like just underneath this skin there might be something exquisite, something I could count on, something that could end my daydreaming about dreaming. My daydreaming about dreaming, something like lemonade. If only if it was that easy. But one day, I feel I won't wake from this deception, no matter the amount of sunlight thrown in my direction. But I'll keep trying. I'll slip my hands into my pockets when I walk through orchards. I'll avert my line of sight, and I'll watch my feet fall one after the other. And I suppose I'll keep depending on dreams. It's all that's kept me here so far.
Hello. I wrote this a really long time ago, back when I still thought that I needed people to feel alive. So I'm glad I'm not there anymore, but at least this came out of it. So. Black velvet nights and early songbird mornings have always been your favorite. Sitting beneath the heavy breathing sky, you've never felt more enthralled, more alive. She used to make you feel that way, the girl with the short and colorful hair, always changing from purple to red to blue to blonde, yet an accurate representation of who she was. You've never felt more captivated than when her eyes were upon you and when you spoke. And when she spoke, you listened, because whenever you said a word, she took it to heart. Sometimes you forget how long you've known her for, because it's hard to imagine the time before, that empty void without her. Except you still are an empty void, but the fluffy cotton she filled you with made you feel much fuller than you actually were. And the problem wasn't the density of the cotton, but the sheerness of it. And sometimes if there wasn't enough of it, people could see right through you. Your mother never liked her much, and it took you years to understand why, though you never accepted it. Sometimes late at night, she'd place her fingers through yours and whisper, "Run away with me." And without missing a beat, you'd say okay, because nothing else mattered. You were her past, her present, her future, and near the end, she'd confess you were the only thing that kept her going. You remember sitting in her living room and making the harmless comment, I don't know everything about you," and her looking up from her phone to correct you. "No, I think you do." And because the words were genuine, it triggered guilt deep down within you, right next to those secrets that not even she knew. You knew you were nearing the end when she put that bottle of whiskey to your lips New Year's night and made yourself sick. You knew you were nearing the end when she untangled herself from her new boy experience to kiss you drunkenly beneath the blanket. You knew you were approaching the end as he took you home and held your hand while you stressed about returning to your mother completely hammered. You knew it was coming even if you didn't recognize it, and even though it hurts worse than any physical pain, you know it's time to move on. You try not to think about this new stranger that you know everything about. Try not to think about her messed up feelings that you no longer have to care for but still do. You try not to think about, I don't want to hate you, but I do, even though it's all you think about. You think about the way she thought she'd never recover from a blonde-haired, freckle-faced boy in the 5th grade. You try not to think about the frantic calls made to suicide hotlines in the years to follow. You try not to think of all the tears you've seen her spill and the pretty straight cuts carving a staircase up her arm. You see the boy who causes harm every day and think about how you hurt her worse. You wonder where she'll be in 20 years and pray to God it's not on the ground. You hate yourself because you were the only one constant in her life, but now you're just a shattered light bulb that she keeps cutting her feet on. You knew everything about her, and though you know that she'll think about this till the day she dies, whether she's downing pills or lying in a hospital bed, you know you'll never feel the same way about another person, and it's not bittersweet like they say in the movies. It's a knife in your fucking back that you can't dislodge. And now that cotton is gone and people can see right through you, though you do all you can to cover it up. But now you sit next to the boy from New Year's Eve at your house when you should be at school and peer over his shoulder as he reads a poem titled A Night in Lusitania. This is inspired by a song he tells you as he pulls out his phone to look it up. You listen to the trumpets and the piano and the bass and realize that this is your life now. Maybe jazz and the piano player next to you might feel you as something more substantial than cotton. You read the poem again after the song ends, and he continues on after you finish, stopping to recite the words naked feeling from a long list of description. You know he's not thinking of the same kind of naked as you are, but you don't have the heart to tell him that there are things far more intimate than bodies pressed together in steamy, dark cars. He knows about this girl you still cry over and the thoughts you used to share with her, and now as you sit cross-legged in front of him, there will never be a feeling more naked than thinking of her or being with him.
Thank you. All right, was there anyone left that wanted to sign up? Jump on the list. Okay. Yes, what's your name?
Hunter Henriksen.
Sorry, don't let me intimidate you with my vocals. Perfect. Okay. Then our final 3 readers tonight will be Macy Staley, Cassie Ivy, and Hunter Hendrickson. Well done.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Macy, and the fact about me is this is my first ever reading, so if you could show me some love for me. And I'm going to be reading a flash piece I wrote called September. Her bed is covered with a white comforter. It has the look of expense as if sewn by hands knowing they were creating a canvas for passion. It wrinkles easy, delicate weight between the feathers. Light enough for summer when her mind is heavy. It allows her to slip bare feet each night just to feel her arches breathe. Most mornings the bed gets left unmade. She tosses covers on top to be a beautiful mess against the mattress. Maybe there's a chance to wake up this way for the rest of her life. A life where she goes to bed knowing the comfort is there. On her restless nights, it's holding her as she tosses and turns. The flexibility in the fabric beneath her arms offers intimacy. She doesn't want to let go. August would come too quickly. She could feel the bitter in the air before it arrived. That last weekend, her bed was left untouched for 3 nights. Covers folded, tucked, adored, and pulled tight into corners like dust she didn't care to sweep up, at least until he left. They spent their last days wrapped in arms, dancing around packed cardboard boxes at his place and ordering pizza at 9 a.m., too in love to let the public see the unmade hair, the raw evidence of happy. Early that last Sunday morning, he lay sleeping on his stomach, shoulder blades rising in unison. His muscles seemed a little too tense for comfort. His breath sounded like an abode. She reached over to the notebook she carried everywhere. She wrote him the goodbye she'd never be able to say in person. Before the bedding would have to be folded, packed away, shipped into boxes to Arizona. She left the note on his nightstand to be read after she left. She once heard of couples who fight over bedclothes. The seemingly insignificant decorative pillows get thrown in bulk on the bed, only to be taken off the couple's minds at night when they're thrown on the floor. Too many things got forgotten as the couple wrap up with one another. Around the bedding with the frills like she wanted, but in his favorite color. Compromise. With them, the decorative pillows always went back up in the morning. There was the pillow that comes with getting up to early apology before leaving for a job she didn't know could support her dream of being a stay-at-home mom. Another one stacked on top for making the bed too early on Sunday mornings when she wanted to worship God and he just wanted to worship her. Suddenly, the bed pillows became everything in their relationship. It didn't matter how in love they were. It didn't matter how many times they dressed down the bed just for another night. Their lives didn't work together. When he realized he couldn't have her, he ran to Arizona with his mattress in a U-Haul. He didn't bother to bring the headboard. A brand new life awaited for him in the city. She went back to school in a small town he'd only visited a handful of times. She thought she'd be safe without the memories of him that lingered in the town they once shared. It's September now. She sleeps under a wool matelassé. Its texture is rough and its shade of slate doesn't seem to match the walls around her. The new bedding doesn't fold her curves like she's used to. She pulls it close on lonely nights when atoms in the air need to be pushed together, even if the touch is unfamiliar. She's developed a bad sleeping pattern, waking up at precisely 2 a.m. to trace the fabric's intricate thought patterns. She's trying to make sense of it all. Her roommates enveloped the apartment in fall scents long before the season: spiced apple, marshmallow, fireside, and flannel. She can't seem to get the scent out of the matelassé. She can even smell the trace of singed regret on the only decorative pillow on her bed. She's tempted to go to the linen closet, raise on the arches of her feet to the highest shelf, unravel a white comforter that hopefully still smells like him, and pull it tight to her. Instead, she lays underneath the matelassé, and 3 sheets deep, she writes all the words she shouldn't feel for him now.
Hi, I'm Hunter. I wasn't planning to read again, and then I found something to read.
I like your shirt.
What?
I like
oh,
your
you like
shirt.
my shirt.
Yeah.
I'm another one of those lost computer science students who somehow ended up here.
Welcome home!
Thank you. Glad to be here. And this is called Beautiful. What defines beauty? Is it a biological bias that drives us to befriend and bed those who are the best mates? Is it an order that consumes all until the only object left is an overwhelming oneness of being an objective? Is it chaos that creates patterns and creativity, concepts in our heads that tell us which colors to write? Is it something designed by some grand creator who gave us eyes to enjoy their creations and to make our own? Or is it something coincidental, stars aligning into familiar shapes, nature blooming into pink, spotted with clouds?
Yeah.
you all for a fantastic night. I have your names now, so I expect to see you back here. April 11th, 7 p.m., this room, poetry at 3. Thank you guys so much. Please help us stack the chairs against the wall, this wall, that wall, that wall, that wall, and buy some broadsides.